Good evening. My name is Jim Ridgell. I think I hear some of you thinking, who? Well, let me explain. 35 years ago, in 1979, I was truly privileged to be elected as the first president of the Federation of Government Information Processing Councils, the organization that you know as the American Council for Technology. In other words, 35 years ago, I was the successor to your current president, Rick Holgate. And I'm speaking to you today from my home in Littleton, Colorado, which is on the eastern slope of the Rocky Mountains and about 10 miles south of the Denver Federal Center. A few weeks ago, your executive director, Ken Allen, asked me to share some thoughts with you about the genesis of the Federation, how we were founded, how we were built, and why. And I'm going to throw in an unsolicited recommendation on a topic that is very dear to my heart and has been for some time, and I believe is also shared by many of our earlier colleagues. In the late 1970s, the information management discipline had developed a fair amount of maturity. Technology was being used widely throughout the government sector. And this resulted in the development of very many imposing regulations addressing the acquisition and management of the information technology. Now, these issues and challenges were both very different and very similar to the issues that are on your plates today. These issues and challenges were of concern across the nation, notably in the 10 government regions that had information processing councils actively in place. These communities were scattered across the country, from New England to San Diego and Hawaii to Atlanta, with a few tucked in the middle. These scattered managers were dealing with the same issues, but not talking to each other, not sharing ideas and solutions. In 1979, a few far-sighted individuals, notably led by Whit Dotson, who was the assistant administrator of GSA, recognized the need for bringing these scattered communities together, bringing the people together to share, to discuss. In August of 1979, a meeting was held in Kenner, Louisiana, which is the airport town of the city of New Orleans. Now, government meetings are not unusual. They weren't back then either. But this was an important one, especially to government technology managers. Representatives of the existing 10 councils met for 2 days in Kenner, and we formed a nationwide government information processing community. We developed a constitution and a set of bylaws, and over the next several months, the constitution and bylaws were approved by not only the 10 councils that were had met in Kenner, but also included 2 other councils, so for a total of 10 councils that approved the constitution and bylaws and created the organization which we named the Federation of Government Information Processing Councils. We determined that we would have annual meetings so that we would be facilitated in our talking to each other and meeting and getting to know each other and sharing of ideas and solutions, opportunities. These meetings became the Management of Change Conference, with which I'm sure you are familiar. First meeting of the Federation, the first conference, first Management of Change Conference, was held in San Antonio, Texas in 1980. This was a rousing success. We had 500 attendees. And our closing keynote speaker, Lieutenant General Jack Robbins, who was the Director of Data Automation for the U.S. Air Force, received a standing ovation as he charged us to make a difference. And we did. and you are. One of the clauses in our Constitution provides for a device which would allow the industry brethren that we all know and love to provide advice and recommendations on the business of government information processing. But it wasn't for 10 years after that, in 1989, that several of us, had the opportunity, the time and resources to put together the IAC, to make it a living organization. And I guess you could say that the rest is history. Today, ACT and IAC together are arguably the preeminent influences for sensibility in the government information processing community. In the early years, if we could have sat down and painted a picture of what we would hope the Federation would look like in 2014, I think that that picture would look very much like what we see as IAC and ACT today. We would have been and are very proud of the accomplishments of this organization. But the picture is not complete. In the mid-1990s, the focus of the Federation changed from these scattered councils across the country to Washington, D.C. There were several good reasons for this happening, but when it happened, the original reason for the Federation disappeared. The government communities across the country are still there. They still are addressing issues and problems, seldom talking to each other. They need help. They're still scattered. To my knowledge, there are only 2 active councils that are operating in anything similar to those of the original Federation. Those are in Denver, Colorado, and San Francisco, California. And I submit to you that that hole in ACT needs to be filled. I'm not suggesting that you replicate the original Federation model. ACT has moved far beyond that. But I do hope that in coming months and years, ACT will find a way to bring these scattered communities into an active relationship with each other and with ACT itself. And so I want to leave you with 3 thoughts. Congratulations on 35 years of important and effective work. Keep up the good work. It's still important. Please, please do something to bring the benefits of that good work to the government IT community outside Washington, D.C. Thank you, good night, and God bless.